She leaned across the table, tossed a slice of cake onto my plate like I was a damn dog, and whispered, "You'll do as I say, accept my affairs, or end up homeless." The whole room was still clapping from the toast. To Madison, the breadwinner who feeds our loser son. They laughed. My family laughed. At me. I just stared at her. She smiled like a villain straight out of a soap opera. Perfect teeth, fake sympathy. Her hand brushed my shoulder, not lovingly, but like she owned me. And I realized, she didn't just cheat on me. She trained everyone around her to believe I deserved it. I felt something crack inside my chest. Something permanent. I didn't say a word that night. Just smiled for the cameras, nodded at the fake praise, swallowed the damn cake like poison. But the next morning, I vanished. No goodbye. No fight. Just a note on the counter. Keep the bacon. I'm out. I booked a one-way ticket to Denver and disappeared before she could open her eyes. And that's when the real story began, with 151 missed messages from the woman who thought I'd never leave. When I landed in Denver, I switched my phone back on. The screen lit up like a Christmas tree. 151 messages. 32 missed calls. All from Madison. The woman who just 24 hours ago tossed me a crumb of cake and called me a loser in front of my family. Now she was acting like I had been kidnapped. The first message? Where the hell are you? This isn't funny. The second? If you don't come home tonight, we're over. Then the tone shifted. Please, baby. It was just a joke. You're overreacting. I didn't mean what I said. I was nervous. I wanted to impress your family. Come home. Let's talk. She went from power-drunk goddess to desperate housewife in less than 12 hours. I turned off the phone. Let her panic. I checked into a cheap hotel near Union Station. The room smelled like old cigarettes and cleaning spray. But it felt like peace. It felt like freedom. I sat on the bed for a long time, staring at the wall. Not really thinking. Just letting my body realize I was finally away from her poison. The thing is, I knew she was cheating. Not at first. Madison was smart. Too smart. She kept things quiet. Strategic business trips. Night strategy meetings with coworkers. A new trainer at her gym that she suddenly clicked with. But I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to be the idiot husband who trusted his wife because love is supposed to mean trust. Right? Wrong. The first real crack showed 3 months ago. Madison had just gotten home from a branding event. She smelled like men's cologne and the kind of guilt you can't Febreze away. I asked her how it went, and she gave me a tight smile. You wouldn't understand. It's complicated. Then she went to shower. With her phone. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I checked her laptop. Just once. Just to ease my gut. Her messages were still open. Jason. She was calling him baby. She told him she loved the way he grabbed her hair. How I never made her feel like a real woman. She said I was too soft. Too boring. Too available. I should have packed my bags then. But I didn't. I closed the laptop and swallowed it like poison. And now, here I was, hiding in a hotel room with bloodshot eyes and a racing heart, because I finally snapped. She pushed too far at that party. She humiliated me, cornered me, threatened me. She thought I wouldn't leave. She thought I couldn't. And now she was realizing she was wrong. At 2 a.m., I checked my phone again. More messages. I didn't cheat. Not really. It wasn't like that. Jason meant nothing. We stopped months ago. You're blowing this up. Don't throw our marriage away over a mistake. I threw the phone against the wall. Not hard enough to break it. Just hard enough to shut her up. And then, I laughed. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of her. Not her games. Not her voice. Not her lies. She wasn't in control anymore. I was. And she was terrified. The next morning, I woke up to a new message from an unknown number. It read, "You're not the only one she played." I blinked at it for a second, unsure if it was a prank. Then, another text followed. "Check your email. Just helping a fellow idiot out." Curiosity beat caution. I opened my laptop, logged into my old Gmail, the one I barely used anymore, and there it was, a message titled, "The Affair File." No greeting. No name. Just a Google Drive link in one sentence. "If you're still stupid enough to miss her, read this." I clicked. What I found, it wasn't a bombshell. It was a damn nuclear warhead. Screenshots of messages. Photos of Madison with different men, not just Jason. There was Trey, a tattoo gym owner who she apparently spent weekends with doing yoga. There was Nick, her work husband, who looked like he belonged in a cologne commercial. One photo was taken in a hotel mirror. Madison wore my favorite black dress, the one I bought her for our anniversary. She was straddling Nick, middle finger up to the camera like it was some game. The timestamps didn't lie. Some of those nights, she'd come home to me, kiss me, and whisper, "I missed you." And I had believed her. A fire started in my chest. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Something colder. Something surgical. That was the moment I stopped being the victim and started planning. I called my lawyer. His name's Daniel Knox. Best divorce shark in Miami. I told him everything. No sugarcoating. Madison's affairs, the emotional abuse, even the blackmail about making me homeless. He chuckled. She's arrogant. That's good. Arrogance leaves paper trails. While he got started, I needed backup. So I called Jacob, my childhood friend, and, conveniently, a cybersecurity freak. He owed me one from when I bailed him out of a DUI mess 6 years ago. "Tell me you didn't sign anything she put in front of you," Jacob said. "Only our prenup." "Good. That prenup might just be your escape pod." By the afternoon, I had all her passwords. Jacob hacked into her cloud, her backup drives, and her second email. He found secret Uber rides, deleted calendar invites, voice memos she thought were gone. In one recording, Madison actually said, "He's not going anywhere. He needs me to survive." And then she laughed. That laugh used to make me fall in love. Now it made me feel like I was standing in fire and smiling. Jacob sent me a zipped file of everything. I named it MadisonUnmasked.zip. Yeah, petty. But it felt right. That night, I went out. I walked Denver's cold streets with no destination. Just air, wind, silence. I passed bars filled with noise and flirtation. I passed couples holding hands. None of them knew how close they were to this kind of hell. And I wondered how many other guys were living like I had. Trapped, controlled, humiliated, all while everyone around them thought their wife was some amazing woman. She fooled everyone, but not anymore. Back at the hotel, I opened the messages again. Her last one was short. "Please come home. We can fix this." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the folder labeled Assets. Because tomorrow, I wasn't just filing for divorce. I was taking the house, the car, the bank account, and if I played it right, the applause she loved so much, that would die too. I needed one more thing before I filed for divorce. Closure. Not the emotional kind. I didn't want to cry it out or beg for answers. I wanted to look her in the eye while knowing I was 10 steps ahead. I wanted to let her think she still had control, just long enough for me to crush it. So I texted her, "I'll meet you for dinner. Tomorrow. Just us." She replied in seconds. "Yes. Please. I'll make reservations. I love you." The irony didn't even sting. She loved the version of me that let her get away with murder. That guy was gone. I showed up at the restaurant in a dark jacket, no tie, clean shave. Not because I wanted to impress her. I wanted to look like I was already living better without her. She needed to feel small before I burned it all down. She arrived 10 minutes late, of course. Red lipstick, low-cut dress, fake tears ready behind her lashes. "You look good," she said, smiling like we were on a first date. "You look desperate," I replied. That cracked the mask, just a little. She tried to laugh. "Come on, Logan. Can we not fight tonight? I miss you." I messed up. I was confused. "But I'm choosing you." "Us." "Us?" I leaned forward. "Jason. Trey. Nick." That doesn't sound confused to me. That sounds like a full-time hobby. Her eyes widened. "You went through my stuff?" "No," I said, sipping my water. "Your boyfriend sent me everything. Guess you're not even good at cheating anymore." She blinked. For a moment, I saw the truth. Not guilt. Not regret. Fear. That's when she snapped. "Fine. You want honesty?" I cheated. "So what?" "You were boring. You were soft. I wanted a man who could make me feel something." I nodded, calm. "You mean like Nick in the hotel room you filmed on your iPad? Wearing the dress I bought you?" She froze. Her fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the plate. People turned to look. "Logan, let's not do this here." "Oh, I think this is the perfect place," I said. "Public. Safe. Witnesses. You can't prove anything." I slid my phone across the table. On the screen, her own voice from that deleted memo. "He's not going anywhere. He needs me to survive." She paled. "I needed you?" I asked. "No. I trusted you." Big difference. She started crying or tried to, but nothing came out but crocodile sniffles. "You really think you're going to walk away from this with sympathy? After what you did to me? After what you did in front of my family?" I panicked, she whispered. "That joke. I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to look strong." You looked evil, I said. The waiter came over, awkward and nervous. Would you like dessert? No, I said, standing. But she'll pay for everything. With her card. Logan, wait, Madison begged, standing too. Don't do this. Don't throw everything away. We can go to therapy. We can fix this. I leaned in close, so only she could hear. I already filed. Daniel knocks. Served papers hit your desk at 8 a.m. You're done. Her jaw dropped. She reached out to grab my arm, but I stepped back. Then, just before I walked out, I turned one last time and smiled. Don't forget to tip. The next morning, Madison's mask finally cracked. At 7:45 a.m., I got a text. You wouldn't. You don't have the balls to divorce me. By 8:02 a.m., she realized I did. You blindsided me. This is cruelty, Logan. You didn't even give me a chance. Then at 8:17. Please. Can we talk? I need to explain everything. By 9 o'clock, she was calling my mom. I hadn't told anyone yet, not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't want pity. I didn't want the "we always thought something was off" speeches. But Madison? She ran straight to the people she humiliated me in front of, probably hoping to manipulate them too. My mom texted me later that afternoon. She said you're making things up, that she only kissed one guy once. She was crying. Logan, are you sure? I sent her a single photo. Madison in the hotel mirror, flipping off the camera while straddling Nick. She didn't reply after that. That day, I moved out of the hotel and into a short-term apartment downtown. It was small, the walls were thin, and the furniture looked like it came from a Craigslist garage sale. But it was mine. No echo of Madison's perfume. No framed photos hiding her lies. And then came the panic storm. 3 calls from her best friend, Alyssa. She's spiraling. She's not eating. She keeps asking if you're seeing someone. 6 messages from Madison's sister, Jordan. Logan, I always thought you were too good for her. But maybe give her another shot. Even Jason, the gym guy, had the nerve to DM me. Bro, I didn't know she was married. She told me you were separated. I didn't reply to any of them. I wasn't looking back. Meanwhile, Madison was trying to play both sides. 1 minute she was threatening me. The next, she was posting sad quotes on Instagram. Sometimes we ruin the people who loved us the most. Don't take kindness for weakness. I miss the way you looked at me when I still mattered. It would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Then came the real hit. Daniel, my lawyer, called me 3 days later. She's trying to block the prenup. I sighed. Of course she is. She claims it was signed under emotional distress. Is sleeping with 3 different men part of the distress? Daniel laughed. Don't worry. We're ready. And we've got enough evidence to bury her case. You'll come out clean. Still, I felt something strange that night. Not sadness. Not even anger. Just emptiness. Like I'd been fighting in a war so long, I forgot what peace felt like. I ordered takeout, sat on the floor of my new place, and ate in silence. No Madison talking over me. No cold shoulder because I forgot to compliment her. Just me. Finally. And I realized that silence? It wasn't lonely. It was healing. And just as I started to breathe again, my phone buzzed with a FaceTime request. Madison. I didn't answer. But I watched as she tried again. And again. And again. The queen was now a beggar. And I had nothing left to give her. I didn't answer Madison's FaceTime request. Or the second one. Or the fourth one that came at 3:17 a.m., with her name misspelled in the contact as Mad Dollar on, something she thought was funny when she changed it on my phone during our honeymoon. The next day, she tried a new angle. Her voice, weak and trembling, showed up in a voice memo. Logan. I know I messed up. But do you remember the night we danced in the kitchen? That stupid John Mayer song? You told me I was your home. And I believed you. Please, don't take that away. I deleted it mid-sentence. She wasn't my home. She was a trap door I'd lived under for too long. But her tactics didn't stop. They evolved. By the end of the week, Madison had gone full sympathy mode. Her Instagram was now a pity parade. A black and white selfie with mascara smudges. Caption. Everyone makes mistakes. Not everyone gets punished for them like this. A throwback photo of our wedding. Caption. What do you do when the love of your life gives up on you? She wanted public support. She wanted people to shame me, to guilt-trip me back into the cage. And it started working on them. Her friends slid into my DMs. She's breaking apart. Are you really going to throw everything away? A man fights for his wife. Be a man. I ignored them. But then I got a call from Mr. Nolan, my old boss. Logan, sorry to pry, but I've been hearing some things. Madison's been saying you got violent during an argument. I almost dropped the phone. That was her move now? Accusations? No, sir, I said, controlling my breathing. That never happened. And I've got emails, recordings, screenshots to back that up. I haven't even spoken to her in person since our dinner. He paused. Look, I'm not saying I believe her. But you know how this works. People talk. I knew exactly how it worked. A powerful woman cries wolf, and the guy with the quiet voice becomes the monster. That night, I opened MadisonUnmasked.zip and uploaded a small batch of redacted evidence. No names, no faces, just proof of betrayal onto a backup drive and sent it to my lawyer. If she goes nuclear, I wrote, I go Hiroshima. Daniel responded with a single thumbs up emoji. I needed to protect myself. Because Madison wasn't trying to get me back out of love, she was trying to control the narrative. If she couldn't win the divorce, she'd win the story. But here's the thing she never understood. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was trying to heal myself. For the first time in years, I started to remember who I was before she bent me into someone quiet and compliant. I picked up the guitar I hadn't touched in 3 years. Started writing again. Went on a hike with my old buddy, Mark, who once told me Madison gave off Cobra vibes, and I laughed harder than I had in months. I wasn't just moving on. I was rising. She, meanwhile, was drowning in her own lies and trying to drag me back under. But I wasn't reaching down anymore. By the end of that week, Madison's empire began to crumble. It started with Jason, the gym guy. I didn't even have to lift a finger. He did it all himself. One morning, I woke up to find my inbox flooded with messages. Friends, coworkers, even my cousin's ex-girlfriend sent me a screenshot. Jason had gone live on Instagram. Let's set the record straight, he said into the camera, pacing shirtless like some wannabe influencer. Madison told me she was divorced. I didn't know she was married until 2 weeks ago when her husband reached out. That woman? She's a liar. And to be honest, she's not even that good in bed. He went on a 5-minute rant, exposing every little lie she told him, including the one about being a victim of an emotionally abusive marriage. He even showed screenshots, one where she told him, I've got Logan wrapped around my finger. He's weak. The internet devoured it. Her sympathy campaign died on the spot. She tried to post a tearful video response, but the comments were brutal. So who's the victim now? Damn, girl. You played yourself. Hope Logan's living his best life. I watched it all unfold with the calm detachment of a man who had already grieved. Madison wasn't mine anymore. She was just a walking headline, and I was free. My lawyer called later that day. She's begging for a settlement. Good, I said. Make her crawl. He chuckled. Already drafting the terms. You get the house. The joint account. And her request for alimony? Denied. That night, I poured myself a drink, something simple. Whiskey. 1 cube of ice. No celebration, just acknowledgement. I stood on the tiny balcony of my rental, looking out over Denver's city lights, and finally exhaled the tension I'd been carrying for years. That was when the doorbell rang. I opened it cautiously. Madison. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Sweatshirt that looked like it hadn't been washed in a week. She looked small, like the wind could carry her off. Logan, she said. Please. I don't have anywhere else to go. I didn't move. That's not my problem anymore. She stepped forward. I was wrong. I know that now. Everything's gone. People are turning on me. My boss put me on unpaid leave because of the video. I just want to fix it. Fix it. I asked, nearly laughing. You threw gasoline on our life and lit the match. You mocked me in front of my family. Threatened me. Lied to me. Cheated like it was a second job. What exactly do you want to fix? She started crying. I just want you to hold me. One more time. I didn't. Instead, I reached behind the door, grabbed the manila envelope Daniel had couriered over that morning, and handed it to her. What's this? The final terms, I said. Sign it. And then leave. She opened it, scanned the pages, and her face twisted into something ugly. You're actually going to take everything from me? No, I said. You gave everything away. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She didn't sign it, not yet. But she left. And I knew she'd sign, because she had nothing else. That night, for the first time in years, I slept like a man who had his soul back. No guilt. No second-guessing. No chains. Just me. And tomorrow? Tomorrow was mine. A week later, the signed divorce papers came back. I didn't open them right away. Not because I was unsure. I just wanted the moment to feel real, to taste it without distraction. So I lit a candle, poured a drink, sat in my new apartment, surrounded by furniture I picked, colors I liked, air I could breathe. Then I opened the envelope. Her signature was shaky, rushed, almost illegible, as if her hands were trembling while she signed away the last piece of power she thought she held over me. It was done. Madison Carter, once my wife, once the woman I imagined building a life with, was now just another line item in a file. Another closed tab. And me? I was more alive than I'd been in years. In the weeks that followed, I didn't run into her. Didn't check her social media. Didn't respond to the occasional late night "I miss you" text that slipped through. Her voice, once a storm in my mind, was now just white noise I could mute at will. I focused on rebuilding. Not just my life, but myself. I reconnected with old friends who used to say, "She changed you, man." They were right. I had changed into something smaller, quieter, afraid to disturb her mood swings or question her lies. Now I laughed louder. I spoke freely. I looked people in the eye again. One night, I sat across from a woman named Claire at a tiny rooftop bar. She was nothing like Madison, and that was exactly the point. She listened without pretending. She didn't need to dominate the room. When I told her the story, not all the dirty details, just enough, she didn't flinch. She looked me in the eye and said, "You didn't lose a wife. You lost a bully." I smiled for a long time after that. The thing is, when you survive someone like Madison, people assume you're broken. Damaged goods. But I wasn't broken. I was sharpened. Sharper than ever. And for the first time, I wanted to share that with someone else, not because I needed to be saved, but because I had finally saved myself. Still, there are moments. Little flickers. Like when I walked past the bakery that made our wedding cake, and I remember how she smeared frosting on my face and laughed like we had forever. Or when I see a couple fighting in public and wonder how many secrets are buried beneath their silence. But then I remind myself, that's not my life anymore. She's not my burden anymore. She's just a memory, a cautionary tale wearing red lipstick and fake apologies. To the men reading this, or living it right now, I'll say this. Leave. Not just physically, mentally, spiritually. Walk away from the lies, the humiliation, the slow suffocation. She will promise change. She will cry. She will swear it meant nothing. Don't listen. Look at her actions. Look at your reflection. If the man in the mirror looks tired, hollowed out, unsure, that's your answer. Love doesn't break you to build herself up. Love doesn't throw cake at your feet and demand loyalty while sharing her bed with strangers. You're not weak for staying too long, but you'll be strong the moment you stop. I stopped. And now? Now I wake up alone, but free. And that's a hell of a better way to live than waking up next to a woman who only ever loved the sound of applause.
I sat in my truck, the engine humming softly as I stared at the house across the street. It was a nondescript, middle-class home in the suburbs, the kind of place where nothing exciting was supposed to happen. Yet here I was, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Inside that house was my wife, Amanda, and her affair partner, some smug-looking bastard named Chad. I don't know what snapped me into action that night, but something about her tone on the phone earlier lit a fuse. She'd been full of excuses lately, always running errands, always staying late at work. This time, though, her lie was too obvious. "I'm at Claire's house for book club," she had said, voice overly casual. Claire, her best friend, had posted on Instagram earlier that day that she was out of town. Amanda had no idea I'd seen it. That's when I decided to follow her. And now, here I was. Watching. Waiting. Seething. I picked up my phone and dialed Amanda's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice dripping with fake cheer. "Hey, babe. I'm just about to head home. What's up?" "Don't rush," I said calmly. "I'll be home in half an hour." I let the silence stretch just long enough for her to panic. "See you soon." The line went dead. I didn't have to wait long before the front door of Chad's house burst open. Amanda stumbled out, her hair messy, her blouse buttoned wrong, and her face pale as she spoke rapidly into her phone. Chad followed, looking less panicked and more annoyed. They both moved toward their cars, Amanda still clutching her purse like it was the only thing holding her together. I smiled bitterly. Game over, I muttered, stepping out of the truck. The bat in my hand felt heavier than it should have, but my resolve was steel. It was time to end this charade. I stepped out of the truck, gripping the bat tightly. It wasn't about violence, at least that's what I told myself. It was about power, about taking back control of a life that had been spiraling out of my grasp. Amanda and Chad hadn't seen me yet, too busy scrambling to get into their cars. "Hey!" I barked, my voice cutting through the still night like a blade. Amanda froze mid-step, her phone slipping from her hand and clattering onto the driveway. Chad turned to face me, his confident smirk faltering for a second before he plastered it back on. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" Amanda stammered, her voice higher pitched than I'd ever heard it. She was a terrible liar, but she'd gotten bolder with her deceit over the past few months. "Me?" I said, forcing a laugh. "No, the real question is, what are you doing here? Or do I need to spell it out for you?" Her face turned crimson, but she didn't answer. Instead, she glanced at Chad, who shrugged like this was some minor inconvenience in his otherwise perfect life. "You've got some nerve showing up here," Chad said, stepping forward. He was taller than me, bulkier, and clearly thought he was intimidating. But there was something about the way he looked at Amanda that made my blood boil. "You think this is your business now?" I asked, taking a step toward him. I lifted the bat just enough to make a point. "Stay out of this, Chad. This is between me and my wife." "Ryan, stop," Amanda hissed. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I snapped, turning to her. "I caught you sneaking out of another man's house. And you're going to stand there and act like this is some misunderstanding?" Her eyes darted everywhere but at me. "It's not what you think." "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't you dare insult my intelligence right now." Chad started to speak again, but I swung the bat down hard, not at him, but at the hood of his car. The metal dented with a loud thunk, and Amanda screamed. "What the hell, man?" Chad yelled, stepping back. His cocky demeanor was gone now, replaced by genuine fear. "This is just the beginning," I said coldly. "You think you can walk into my life and wreck my marriage without consequences?" Amanda's tears started then, her face crumpling as she reached for me. "Ryan, please. It's not like that. I can explain." I stepped back, shaking my head. "Explain what?" "That you've been sneaking around behind my back. That I've been breaking my back to provide for you while you're out here playing house with this loser?" Her tears dried up almost instantly, replaced by something uglier, anger. "You know what? Maybe if you hadn't been so boring, I wouldn't have needed someone else," she spat, her voice venomous. That hit harder than I expected. For a moment, I just stared at her, stunned by how quickly she turned the blame on me. Chad smirked again, clearly emboldened by her words. "You don't deserve her, man," he said. Before I could stop myself, I lunged at him, the bat swinging upward. He dodged just in time, but I managed to clip his arm. He yelped and stumbled backward, clutching it. "Ryan, stop it." Amanda screamed, but I was already done. I wasn't going to waste another second on him. I turned back to her, my voice icy. "Pack your things. When I get home, I don't want to see you there." She gaped at me, her defiance faltering for the first time. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm dead serious," I said. "This is over, Amanda. You made your choice." I walked away without waiting for a response, my heart pounding as I climbed into the truck. As I drove off, I could see them in the rearview mirror, Amanda shouting at Chad, who was still cradling his arm. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Amanda wasn't the type to go quietly. And Chad? He had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. The drive home was eerily quiet. My heart should have been pounding, my head spinning with thoughts of what had just happened. Instead, I felt a strange calm settle over me, like the eye of a storm. I wasn't done. Not yet. I parked the truck in the driveway and walked inside, the familiar creak of the door reminding me that this was supposed to be my sanctuary. Instead, it felt hollow, like a stage where every moment of the past few months had been a performance. Amanda would be home soon, of that, I was certain. She wasn't the type to let me have the last word. I poured a drink and sat on the couch, waiting, the bat leaning against the coffee table like a silent witness. The door slammed open an hour later. Amanda stormed in, her mascara streaked and her hair wild. She looked at me like I was the villain in her story. "You're insane, Ryan," she yelled, slamming her purse onto the counter. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I took a sip of my drink, keeping my voice calm. "Oh, I've got a pretty good idea. You're just mad I caught you. You're acting like a child," she sneered. "Swinging bats around, making a scene. Do you think that's going to fix anything?" I stood, my patience hanging by a thread. "Fix anything? Amanda, you're the one who broke this marriage. And now you're mad that I didn't sit back and take it?" She crossed her arms, her face hardening. "You know what? Maybe I did. But can you blame me? You've been so checked out lately, so focused on work. I needed someone who actually cared." Her words hit like daggers, but I wasn't about to let her rewrite the narrative. "Don't you dare twist this around. I worked so hard to give us a good life, and this is how you repay me? Sneaking around like some cheap soap opera character?" "Cheap?" she shot back, laughing bitterly. "You're calling me cheap? You're the one who can't even hold a conversation anymore without complaining about work, bills, or whatever else is weighing you down. Chad made me feel alive again, something you haven't done in years." It was like she was trying to gut me, and for a second, she almost succeeded. But then I saw it, the glint of satisfaction in her eyes, the smugness of someone who thought they'd won. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You want to feel alive, Amanda? Good. Because I'm about to make sure you understand what it feels like to lose everything." Her bravado wavered, but only for a second. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean," I said slowly, "that I've already called a lawyer. I mean that I'm going to take you for every dime you've got, every shred of dignity you think you still have." She laughed, but it was forced, hollow. "You can't do that. Everything we have is shared." I smiled for the first time in hours. "Not everything. You see, I've been documenting things for months. Your late nights, your excuses, the money missing from our accounts. Turns out, judges don't look too kindly on cheaters, especially when there's evidence." Her face paled, the color draining like a curtain had been pulled back on the real Amanda. "You wouldn't." "Oh, I would," I said. "And I will. But don't worry, I'll make sure Chad knows just how much he's getting into. I'm sure he'll love playing sugar daddy once your reputation is in shreds." For the first time, she didn't have a snappy comeback. Instead, she grabbed her purse and turned toward the door. "You're pathetic, Ryan. You're going to regret this." "I doubt it," I called after her. The door slammed behind her, and I stood there, the silence rushing back in. I should have felt triumphant, but instead, a strange emptiness settled in my chest. This wasn't a win. It was survival. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing. Dozens of texts and missed calls flooded my screen. At first, I thought it was Amanda, trying to manipulate her way back. But then I saw the messages from mutual friends, the cryptic warnings. "Dude, you need to check your social media now." Confused, I opened my accounts and froze. Amanda had gone nuclear. She'd posted pictures, messages, even fake screenshots of texts between us that painted me as an abusive, controlling husband. She'd spun a narrative that made her the victim, Chad a hero, and me the monster. The comment sections were a battlefield, friends taking sides while strangers lobbed insults. My hands shook as I scrolled through the chaos. She wasn't just trying to hurt me, she was trying to ruin me. I didn't have time to wallow. This wasn't a fight anymore, it was war. The notifications wouldn't stop. Every buzz of my phone felt like a punch to the gut, each comment and message another reminder that Amanda wasn't just a liar, she was a full-blown saboteur. My hands trembled as I navigated through her public posts, each one more damning than the last. Ryan has been controlling for years. He wouldn't let me have friends or a life of my own, she had written under a carefully curated photo of her looking tearful. Another post read, "It's hard to admit you're in a toxic relationship, but I finally found the strength to walk away. Chad has shown me what love is supposed to feel like." Comments poured in. Friends I thought were loyal sided with her, offering sympathy and praise for her bravery. A few, thankfully, sent me private messages urging me to respond. But I wasn't about to play her game, not yet. Instead, I went to the one person I knew I could count on, Jake, my best friend since college. He answered my call on the second ring, his voice groggy but concerned. "Ryan? What's going on? I saw Amanda's posts. What the hell is happening?" "Meet me at the diner in 20, I said. "I need your help." When I got to the diner, Jake was already there, 2 cups of coffee steaming on the table. He looked up, his brows knitted in worry. "Dude, you look like hell." "Thanks," I muttered, sliding into the booth. "Listen, I need to figure out how to stop Amanda. She's gone nuclear, and if I don't fight back, she's going to ruin me." Jake leaned back, scratching his beard. "She's smart. Always has been. But this? This is next-level evil." I nodded. "I need proof, something solid to show she's lying. She's already poisoned half our friends against me." Jake pulled out his phone. "Let me dig around. If she's bold enough to post that garbage publicly, there's no telling what else she's left lying around." As Jake searched, I replayed the events of the past few months in my head, trying to piece together any clues I might have missed. Then, something clicked. The bank statements. The missing money. At the time, I thought it was careless spending. Now, I wasn't so sure. "Check this out," Jake said, breaking my train of thought. He turned his phone toward me, showing a screenshot of Chad's public Instagram. One post in particular caught my eye, a picture of Amanda and Chad at a high-end restaurant from 2 weeks ago, with the caption, "When love finds you, the world disappears." It was damning, but not enough to flip the script. I needed more. "Keep digging," I said. "I'll be right back." At home, I tore through the filing cabinet where we kept our shared financial documents. Sure enough, the missing funds weren't random withdrawals, they were payments to an unknown account. The transaction IDs all pointed to one consistent destination. I didn't recognize the account holder's name, but I knew someone who could help. By the time I returned to the diner, Jake had more news. "You're not gonna believe this," he said, sliding his phone across the table. "Chad isn't just some random guy. He's a grifter. There are records of him running scams with women in 3 different states." My stomach twisted. "So what? Amanda's just another mark?" "Not exactly," Jake said. "She's in on it. Look at this." He pulled up a Reddit thread, complete with screenshots from other victims of Chad and Amanda's schemes. Fake romantic relationships, public sympathy campaigns, even fraudulent charity fundraisers. My blood boiled as I scrolled through the evidence. Amanda wasn't just cheating, she was conning me, using our marriage as a front to bankroll her criminal lifestyle. Jake smirked grimly. You wanted proof? This is it. The next move had to be calculated. I wasn't just dealing with an unfaithful wife, I was dealing with a criminal mastermind. Amanda thought she could destroy me publicly and walk away unscathed. But now, I had the ammunition to fight back. That night, I went through every document, every text message, every email. I compiled a mountain of evidence, enough to not only clear my name but to ensure Amanda and Chad would face the consequences of their actions. But it wasn't enough to confront her privately. No, I needed to flip the narrative, and fast. The next day, I posted my own story online, complete with screenshots of the financial discrepancies, Amanda's fraudulent activity, and links to the Reddit thread exposing Chad's scams. I didn't attack Amanda directly, I let the facts speak for themselves. Within hours, my post gained traction, the comments section flooded with support and outrage toward her and Chad. Amanda's smear campaign unraveled before her eyes. Mutual friends who had sided with her began reaching out to apologize. People started digging deeper, uncovering even more evidence of Amanda's lies and schemes. Chad's name became synonymous with fraud, and Amanda's reputation crumbled alongside his. Amanda showed up at the house that evening, her face a mask of fury. "How dare you air our dirty laundry like that? You're pathetic." I laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Dirty laundry? Amanda, you've been laundering money. You and Chad scammed me, scammed others, and now you're mad that I exposed the truth? You don't understand," she snapped, her voice desperate. "I did this for us. I needed a way out, and Chad." "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't even try to justify this. You destroyed everything for greed. I hope it was worth it." Her defiance crumbled, replaced by a flicker of fear. For the first time, I saw the real Amanda, someone who thought she could manipulate her way out of anything but was finally out of moves. "This isn't over," she said weakly as she turned to leave. "No," I said. "It's just beginning. For you." As she walked away, I felt no satisfaction, just clarity. Amanda and Chad had underestimated me, but I wasn't playing by their rules anymore. I had taken my life back, piece by piece. And now, it was time for them to face the consequences. Amanda was desperate, and desperate people made mistakes. I didn't expect her to give up so easily, not with her ego on the line. I knew she'd try something bold, something reckless. So, I decided to set a trap. I spent the next day quietly preparing, working with my lawyer and Jake to ensure every angle was covered. The evidence we'd uncovered wasn't just enough to clear my name, it was enough to bring Amanda and Chad's entire operation crumbling down. But I wasn't going to wait for the courts to handle it. This needed a personal touch. That night, Amanda called. I wasn't surprised. The venom in her voice was palpable even through the phone. "We need to talk," she demanded. "About what? You ruining my life, or me exposing yours?" I said, keeping my tone casual. "Ryan, don't play games. This has gotten out of hand. We can fix this, but you need to meet me, alone." I smirked at the predictability of it all. "Fine. Where?" She hesitated, then said, "Chad's place." "Half an hour." "Sure," I said, hanging up. But I wasn't going in blind. Jake insisted on coming along, waiting in the car down the street in case things went south. "You sure about this?" he asked as I grabbed the recorder from my glove box. "Positive," I said. "She wants to manipulate me, but I'm done playing defense." I pulled up to Chad's house, the same place where everything had started. The lights were dimmed, and Amanda stood on the porch, her arms crossed. She looked rattled, like someone who had just been served a dose of their own medicine. "Ryan," she began as I approached, "we can fix this. You don't have to ruin everything." I stopped a few feet away, keeping my expression neutral. You already ruined everything, Amanda. What do you want? She looked around nervously, as if expecting an audience. You don't understand, she said, lowering her voice. Chad's dangerous. If you keep pushing, he'll come after you. After both of us. Both of us? I echoed, pretending to be surprised. Since when are you the victim? I made mistakes, she said, her voice trembling. But I didn't know what I was getting into with him. He promised me everything, freedom, excitement, but it was all lies. Now I'm trapped, Ryan. He's blackmailing me. I raised an eyebrow. Blackmailing you with what? She hesitated, her face twisting with indecision. Photos. Messages. Things he could use to ruin me even more than you already have. Please, Ryan, if you have any shred of compassion left, help me. It was a good performance. Convincing, even. But I wasn't buying it. Before I could respond, the door opened, and Chad stepped out. He wasn't smirking this time. His face was dark, his eyes cold. He carried himself like someone who thought he was untouchable. You should have stayed out of this, he said, his voice low and menacing. Nice to see you too, Chad, I said. How's the arm? His jaw tightened, and I saw the faintest twitch of anger. You think you're smart, don't you? Posting all that crap online. But you've made things worse for yourself. Amanda stepped between us, her hands up. Stop it, both of you. This isn't helping. Helping? I said, laughing bitterly. Amanda, you're still trying to play both sides. It's pathetic. Chad took a step closer. Listen, pal. You're going to take that post down, and you're going to walk away from this. Otherwise, you won't like what happens next. It was exactly what I needed him to say. Oh, I think I'll take my chances, I said, reaching into my pocket. Because the way I see it, you're the one who's out of options. His eyes narrowed as I pulled out my phone. I pressed a button, and the voice recorder app played back every word he'd just said. Amanda's face went pale. Chad, however, barely flinched. So what? You think that little toy is going to scare me? I smiled, keeping my gaze steady. No, but it'll do wonders for the police. You know, the ones I already sent the financial evidence to? The same ones who are very interested in your little scams. For the first time, Chad looked uncertain. You're bluffing. Try me, I said. Oh, and while you're at it, maybe explain how Amanda's name is on those fake charity accounts you've been funneling money through. I'm sure the cops would love to hear her side of things. Amanda spun toward him, her face a mask of panic. What is he talking about? Shut up, Chad snapped, his cool facade cracking. He's just trying to divide us. But Amanda wasn't buying it. You told me this was foolproof. That there was no way it could be traced back to me. I stepped back, letting them implode. Watching Amanda's betrayal turn inward was almost poetic. You idiot, Chad growled, advancing on her. You couldn't even keep your mouth shut long enough to. He didn't get to finish. Jake appeared out of nowhere, tackling Chad to the ground. I hadn't seen him leave the car, but his timing was perfect. Thought I'd crash the party, Jake said, pinning Chad down. Amanda shrieked, backing away, but I grabbed her arm. We're done, Amanda. You've lost. And when the cops show up, you'll have plenty of time to think about how boring I was compared to this mess. By the time the police arrived, Chad was subdued, and Amanda was hysterical. The evidence was airtight. Chad was arrested on the spot, and Amanda, though not cuffed, was informed she'd be under investigation. I stood by the curb, watching as the chaos unfolded. Jake clapped me on the shoulder. Hell of a way to end a marriage. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief. Yeah. But it's over now. Or so I thought. The following morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months. Chad was in police custody, Amanda was under investigation, and my name was slowly being cleared. But the sense of finality I craved still eluded me. There was a nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like I'd missed something critical. By noon, the phone calls started. Friends and acquaintances who had been radio silent during Amanda's smear campaign were now calling to apologize, offering support, and trying to understand how things had escalated so quickly. But one call stood out, a number I didn't recognize. "Ryan," the voice on the other end said when I picked up, "I need to speak with you. It's important." "Who is this?" "My name's Lisa. I'm Chad's ex. Look, I know you don't know me, but I saw everything online. I think you need to know the truth." We met at a coffee shop an hour later. Lisa was nervous, her hands trembling as she stirred her drink. She was younger than I expected, probably mid-20s, with a weariness in her eyes that made her seem older. "Chad and I were together for 2 years, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I knew him, but he lied about everything, his job, his past, even his name. When I found out what he was really doing, I tried to leave, but," she trailed off, her eyes darting toward the door as if expecting him to walk in. "But what?" I pressed. "He threatened me," she said, her voice breaking. "Said he'd ruin me, just like he's done to so many others. He made me feel trapped." I clenched my fists under the table. "Why are you telling me this now?" She hesitated, then slid a USB drive across the table. "Because you're not the only one he's hurt. That drive has everything, names, accounts, even messages between him and Amanda. She's deeper in this than you realize." At home, I plugged the drive into my computer and opened the files. Lisa wasn't exaggerating. The drive contained a treasure trove of incriminating evidence, bank transfers, forged documents, even recordings of Chad coaching Amanda on how to manipulate me. But one file stood out, labeled Plan B. I clicked it, my stomach twisting as I read the contents. It was a detailed outline of their fallback plan if they were caught. Amanda would frame me for domestic abuse, claim financial control, and use public sympathy to walk away unscathed. Chad's role? To disappear and resurface under a new identity. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was premeditated destruction. My hands shook as I closed the file. Every moment of doubt I'd felt over the past few months, every time I'd questioned whether I was overreacting, suddenly crystallized into rage. Amanda and Chad weren't just liars, they were predators. That evening, Amanda showed up at the house. I didn't bother asking how she got in, she still had a key, though that was about to change. She walked into the living room, her face a carefully constructed mask of remorse. "Ryan," she began softly, "I came to apologize." I stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. "For what? Cheating on me? Lying? Or trying to destroy my life?" She winced, her eyes glistening with crocodile tears. "For all of it. I made mistakes, but I was confused. Chad manipulated me, he made me believe things about you that weren't true." I almost laughed. Her performance was flawless, but I wasn't the audience she thought I was. "Cut the act, Amanda. I know everything." Her facade cracked for a split second, but she recovered quickly. "I don't know what you're talking about." I walked over to the coffee table and picked up the USB drive, tossing it onto the couch between us. "Lisa says hi." Amanda's face drained of color. "Lisa?" "Yeah. Your partner in crime's ex-girlfriend. Turns out, she doesn't like being used any more than I do." Amanda stared at the drive like it was a live grenade. "Ryan, you have to understand." "What I understand," I interrupted, my voice rising, "is that you plan to ruin me. Not just my reputation, but my entire life. And for what? Money? Excitement? Was it worth it, Amanda? She took a step back, her hands trembling. You don't know what he's capable of. He would have come after me if I didn't. Stop blaming Chad. I snapped. You weren't some innocent victim. You chose this. You chose to betray me, to lie, to destroy everything we built. And now, you're going to face the consequences. Her fear morphed into defiance. You think you're so righteous, don't you? Like you're better than me? Well, guess what, Ryan? You're nothing without me. You never were. I stepped closer, my voice low and steady. I may be nothing to you, Amanda, but at least I'm not a criminal. At least I don't destroy the people I claim to love. For the first time, she had nothing to say. The cops arrived 15 minutes later, responding to the tip I'd called in earlier. Amanda protested, screamed, and begged, but it was over. As they led her out, she turned to me, her face a mask of fury and desperation. This isn't over, Ryan, she shouted. You'll regret this. I watched her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. She was right, it wasn't over. There were still legal battles ahead, still pieces of my life to rebuild. But for the first time in months, I felt free. That night, I sat in the quiet of my home, the weight of the past few weeks finally lifting. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain, I'd survived. And that, for now, was enough. For the first time in weeks, I woke up to silence. No texts, no calls, no chaos. Amanda and Chad were out of my life, or so I thought. I spent the morning tying up loose ends, making sure the evidence I'd gathered was securely handed over to my lawyer and the authorities. The storm seemed to be over. By mid-afternoon, Jake called. How's freedom treating you? He asked. Quiet, I said. Too quiet, maybe. But I'll take it. Jake chuckled. Enjoy it while it lasts. You deserve some peace after all that. But peace has a way of being temporary, and my phone buzzed just as I hung up. This time, it was a blocked number. Against my better judgment, I answered. You think this is over? Amanda's voice hissed through the line. My heart sank. Amanda, you're not supposed to be contacting me. Oh, don't worry, Ryan. This isn't about reconciliation. This is about letting you know that I'm not done. You're delusional, I said, my voice steady but my stomach knotting. You're going to jail. You and Chad both. Amanda laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You think Chad's the end of the line? You think this is just about us? What are you talking about? You'll see soon enough, she said, and the line went dead. For the rest of the day, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I called Jake and filled him in. She's bluffing, he said. What can she possibly do now? Knowing Amanda? Something reckless. Jake paused, then said, let's stay ahead of her. I'll dig around, see if there's anything else she might be hiding. You focus on keeping your head straight. That night, I sat in my living room, the quiet now feeling oppressive. I double-checked the locks, paranoid that Amanda's vague threat wasn't just an empty promise. I was about to head to bed when my phone buzzed again, this time, a text from another unknown number. You thought Amanda was bad? You don't even know the half of it. Attached was a photo of me, taken just hours earlier, sitting in the coffee shop with Lisa. My blood ran cold. Someone had been watching. The next day, Jake called with news. Ryan, you're not going to believe this, he said. Amanda wasn't bluffing. Chad wasn't just running a scam with her, he's tied to something much bigger. What are you talking about? I did some digging, Jake said. Chad has connections to a network of fraudsters, people who specialize in blackmail and identity theft. Amanda was just one piece of it. And it looks like they've already started targeting you. I sat down hard, the weight of his words hitting me like a punch to the gut. How? Why? Because you're a loose end, Jake said grimly. Amanda might be out of the picture, but Chad's associates don't like leaving loose ends. That evening, I received another message, this time, an email. The subject line read, "You've been warned." The body of the email was simple, a list of my personal information, including my address, work history, and even my social security number. At the bottom, a single sentence, "Leave it alone, or we'll ruin you." The fear turned to anger as I stared at the screen. They thought they could scare me into silence. They didn't realize I was past the point of fear. I called Jake again. "We need to hit back," I said. "How?" he asked. "These people are professionals. You're out of your depth." "Maybe," I said. "But they've made a mistake. They've underestimated what I'm willing to do." Jake sighed. "All right, what's the plan?" The first step was contacting Lisa. She was hesitant at first, but once I explained what was happening, she agreed to meet me. "If Chad's people are after you, they'll come after me, too," she said. "We need to be smart about this." Together, we went through the files she'd given me. Buried deep in the folder was an encrypted document labeled Ops. With some help from Jake's tech-savvy cousin, we cracked it open. What we found was a detailed list of Chad's associates, their operations, and their targets. It was a goldmine, and a ticking time bomb. If Chad's network found out we had it, they'd come for us with everything they had. The next morning, I took the drive to the police. They were already building a case against Amanda and Chad, but this new evidence expanded their scope. The lead detective assured me they'd act quickly, but his tone didn't inspire much confidence. When I left the station, I noticed a black SUV idling across the street. As I walked to my car, the engine revved, and the vehicle pulled out, following me at a distance. My pulse quickened as I took a series of random turns, confirming my suspicion, they were tailing me. I called Jake. "I'm being followed," I said. "Get to a public place," he said. "Don't go home." I ended up at a crowded diner, the SUV still parked across the street. I stayed there for hours, pretending to read a menu while keeping an eye on the car. Eventually, it drove off, but the sense of danger lingered. By the time I got home, it was nearly midnight. The house was dark, and everything seemed normal, until I stepped inside. The living room was trashed. Papers were scattered, furniture overturned, and my laptop was gone. Someone had been here, and they weren't subtle about it. I called the police, but as I waited for them to arrive, a single thought kept repeating in my head, Amanda's words. "This isn't over." The break-in wasn't random, it was a message. They weren't just watching me, they wanted me to know I was vulnerable. But they made one mistake, they underestimated how far I was willing to go. I wasn't just fighting for my name or my pride anymore. I was fighting for my life. The next morning, I met Jake in an abandoned parking lot, our breath visible in the cold dawn air. He handed me a burner phone and a small, nondescript device. "What's this?" I asked. "A tracker," Jake said. "If Chad's people are serious, we need to stay ahead of them. I planted one on the SUV that followed you yesterday. Turns out they've been holed up at a warehouse on the edge of town." My heart raced. "And you didn't tell me sooner?" "I wanted to be sure," Jake said. "This isn't just Chad and his goons. The warehouse is a hub. It's bigger than we thought." I nodded, gripping the device. "Then it's time to end this." That evening, I drove to the warehouse, parking a safe distance away. Jake stayed in the car, ready to call for backup if things went south. I crept toward the building, my footsteps silent on the gravel. Through a cracked window, I saw them, Chad, Amanda, and two other men huddled around a table covered in documents, cash, and electronics. Amanda looked different, tired, frantic. She was gesturing wildly, her voice rising as she argued with Chad. I couldn't hear them, but I didn't need to. The tension was palpable. I pulled out my phone and started recording through the window. The evidence was damning. They were orchestrating their next scam, plotting their next move. But then, something caught my eye, a folder on the table labeled Ryan Files. My stomach twisted. They weren't just targeting me, they were dissecting my entire life, looking for ways to destroy me. I clenched my fists, the rage threatening to boil over. I circled the warehouse, finding a side door propped open. My heart pounded as I slipped inside, the faint hum of conversation guiding me closer to the table. I ducked behind a stack of crates, my phone still recording. Then, I heard Chad's voice. "We need to take him out of the equation," he said coldly. "As long as Ryan's breathing, we're at risk." Amanda hesitated. "I didn't sign up for this. You said we'd ruin him, not." "Not what?" Chad snapped. "Grow a spine, Amanda. You're in this as deep as I am." Her silence was damning, and I knew in that moment that whatever humanity Amanda had left was gone. I stepped out of the shadows, my voice cutting through the tension. "Looking for me?" The room froze. Chad spun around, his face twisting into a snarl. Amanda's eyes widened, and the two men at the table reached for their guns. "Aha," I said, holding up my phone. "You don't want to do that. This is live streaming straight to the cloud. If anything happens to me, the world sees everything." Chad laughed, low and dangerous. "You think that's going to stop us? We're already buried in evidence. One more body won't matter." I smirked. "You're right. Evidence doesn't matter when you're dead." Before they could react, Jake burst through the door, a bat in one hand and a flashlight in the other. He swung the bat at one of Chad's men, knocking him out cold. The second man lunged, but Jake was faster, slamming the flashlight into his jaw. Chad grabbed Amanda, pulling her in front of him like a shield. "You're out of your depth, Ryan," he shouted. "You don't have what it takes to stop me." I stepped closer, my voice steady. "You're wrong. I've had enough of you ruining lives, my life." Amanda whimpered, her facade cracking as Chad tightened his grip. "Let me go, Chad. This isn't worth it." "Oh, now you're scared?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Should have thought about that before you teamed up with him." Chad snarled and shoved Amanda aside, reaching for a gun on the table. But I was faster. I grabbed the tracker Jake had given me and hurled it at Chad's face. He stumbled back, giving me just enough time to grab the gun first. "Sit down," I said, aiming the weapon at him. He froze, his hands raised, his confidence shattered. Amanda sobbed in the corner, her defiance reduced to nothing. "You think this is over?" Chad sneered, his voice shaking. "Even if you take me down, there are others. This doesn't end with me." "Maybe not," I said. "But it ends with you for me." The police arrived minutes later, Jake having called them the moment he saw things escalate. Chad and his men were arrested, their operation dismantled in one swift blow. Amanda was taken into custody as well, her pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. Weeks later, I sat in court as the judge handed down their sentences. Chad received the harshest punishment, his years of scams finally catching up with him. Amanda? She got less time, but the weight of her betrayal was enough to ensure she'd never escape the shadow of her actions. As I left the courthouse, Jake clapped me on the shoulder. "You did it, man. It's over." "Yeah," I said, the weight finally lifting. It's over. But as I drove home, I couldn't shake Chad's final words, "This doesn't end with me." The past had been buried, but it left scars I'd carry forever. And while I'd won this battle, I knew the war for peace and trust in my life would continue. For now, though, I was free, and that was enough.